Hello everyone. For this video, I kind of want to follow up on our discussion about the things that we hate about English. And I also want to try to explain a little more like what composition is and how composition, an English composition class, is different from other English classes. So to me, okay, let me start here. So, as you saw on our discussion board, I probably agreed with you about most of the things that we hated about English. I considered myself somebody I liked books and I liked reading, but I considered myself somebody who hated English class probably until I got to college. So I share a lot of your frustrations around things like the way that they teach grammar and the kind of unrelatable and very old books that they had us read. A lot of the curriculum is definitely a big problem. Um, so basically what I wanted you to get from that, like all of those things, I agree with you guys on that stuff. That's not the kind of class this is going to be. We're not going to do worksheets on grammar. We're not going to read Shakespeare. So then the question would become, well, what are we going to do? If it's not going to be all those kind of shitty things that a lot of English classes do, then what are we going to do? So the number one answer to this is this concept of the writing process. You might have noticed from a video last week that part of your grade, one of the categories is called process writing, right? So that is because this idea of the writing process is so important to what composition is. So basically, the idea of the writing process is that there are certain kind of steps and like phases that you have to go through to end up with like a good essay, with your best essay. It's the exact opposite of a lot of stuff that they have us do in high school and maybe even sometimes in college. The polar opposite of this idea of the writing process is the timed in-class essay. The dreaded timed essay. Those were the worst. I feel your pain on those. They were awful. Where they would sit you in a room and be like, they give you a prompt that's like, the superintendent of the school district is thinking about making every student wear uniforms. Do you agree or disagree? Write an essay. You have 40 minutes. Those essays were never supposed to be good, Like, they were never supposed to be interesting or engaging or even really convincing. They were just supposed to test, like, can you follow the rules in 40 minutes? Can you tick off all the boxes for a topic, sentence, and a hook, and a thesis, and having three things and all that? It was not about ending up with a good piece of writing or a convincing essay. It was just about seeing if you could follow the damn rules, right? So process writing is very different from timed writing. Because I think we all kind of know. I think we know from our experience doing that just kind of like sitting there and thinking about it for 5 minutes and then like frantically writing for 40 minutes, that no one writes their best doing that. Similarly, nobody actually does their best when you wait until the night before an assignment is due and do the whole thing in 2 hours. Even if you've gotten good grades doing that before, I have gotten some good grades doing that. Even if you've gotten good grades doing that before, it's still not the best that it could have been. I refuse to believe that it wouldn't have been better if you would have taken more time and at least put it down for a night and gone back and looked at it and tried to change some things. So the reason that I think the writing process is so important, because for me, the main goal of this class is to give you for you to have a plan when you get assigned essays in your future classes. For when you're a senior and you're in that biology class or that criminal justice class or business or whatever, all these classes are going to ask you to write essays. Even if you don't think they will, they almost definitely will. So my goal is that when you get an assignment in one of these higher level classes, that you're like, okay, I have a plan to write this essay. I know what to do. I'm not overwhelmed, I'm not fearful, I'm not going to freak out about this because I have a plan. I have steps that I can go through to write an effective essay and get the best grade that I can. That's the writing process. It's the steps that we have to go through to write the best essay that we can. One other thing I'll say about this is that this is not a 5-paragraph essay. This is not for a 5-paragraph essay, right? Maybe that had certain steps that you would go through. But a lot of those steps, it's not the same for a college level essay. Your essay should probably have more than 5 paragraphs, especially when you start writing some longer essays. The essays for this class are going to be 3, 4, 5 pages maybe. You definitely don't want to write a 5-page paper that only has 5 paragraphs. I don't think that that would go very well, especially when 2 of them are the intro and the conclusion. I think it'd be pretty tough to do that. So forget about the 5-paragraph thing. Forget about the timed writing thing. We need to go through this writing process. Okay, so let me introduce some of the steps to this writing process. And we are going to do all of them in this class. I'll probably be giving you assignments asking you to do a lot of these. The first one, I would say, brainstorming. Just very simply, you get an assignment and just trying to sketch out like some possible ideas. Because I think sometimes when we see an assignment, we kind of want to be like, oh, here's exactly what I'll do with it. And then we just go right on that. But that's usually not how this works. Usually we have to kind of narrow it down. Like, okay, maybe I have like 3 potential things I could write about. And then maybe you need to like start making a little list of what you would write about if you did those things. And then you kind of pick the best topic, the one that you have the most to say about or the one that you're the most interested in. So that's kind of with brainstorming. Sometimes that can include a little bit of research as well, just to make yourself more familiar with whatever the topic is. But the problem with that is if you start doing research very early on, you can get like too caught up in what other people are saying, and it can make it like harder to think of what you want to say. I would also say that about our discussion boards in this class. I would always encourage you to do your discussion board first before you read anybody else's, because sometimes you get too influenced by it. But when we're writing an essay, sometimes doing a little bit of research can help us develop our own thoughts. So brainstorm. The next one, I think, making an outline. I'll have another video specifically about outlining, but I'll just say for right now, this doesn't have to be outlining like the really annoying kind of way you might have done it before. Like I know when I was in high school, they were very big on like, oh, you have to have the Roman numerals and the little a and the big A and all this kind of stuff. That just makes it annoying and makes it seem like a chore and not something that's actually there to help you. But I will say that when you start writing longer essays, you kind of do need to have a plan before you really get into it. You need to have like some bullet points. And maybe I would put in with doing an outline, also trying to come up with at least like a starting version of your thesis to know kind of what your argument is, and then kind of have a plan of like what are some of the points that you're going to bring up to help you make this argument. After outline, I would say drafting. Again, I'll have more info on all of these steps, but drafting I think has also felt very annoying in the past. But I think we need to view it not as like a situation where we feel like we're just writing the essay multiple times, but where like the first draft is kind of just like a very rough sketch of the argument we want to make. It's probably not as long as the final essay. You might be missing some of the paragraphs and stuff, or have things that you know you're going to put in but you didn't get to yet. But I do think writing some kind of draft is very helpful, because then you're going to write that draft and then you'll get feedback from me and from other people in the class. So when we write our drafts, you will always get written comments on them from me. They'll be graded on completion. I'm not going to go through and like take points off for grammar on your drafts. And then you'll get feedback from me, you'll get feedback from other people. So I would kind of include that as another step, feedback. And then after you get the feedback, the next step in the writing process, revision. Taking that feedback into account, not necessarily just following all of it blindly, but at least, thinking about it and kind of thinking from your own point of view, like what are some of the things that you want to fix with it. Because like doing the draft, it makes us have something on the page, and then we kind of step back from it for a couple of days, maybe a weekend, maybe a whole week, and then we look back at it, and usually when we do that, we realize certain things that we want to change, whether it's moving stuff around or adding something or taking something out, whatever it is. But revision. And then, so in revision, I kind of think of all the sort of big picture stuff, because the last one I would say is proofreading. So the difference there is that revision, I would focus more on like thesis, argument, paragraphs, organization, intro, conclusion, that kind of stuff. And then proofreading is more just kind of like that sentence level, just basically making sure you don't have any typos. You can think about it as like grammar and stuff, but I would first and foremost just want to make sure that what's on the page is what you actually wanted to be there. I think that's the best way to do proofreading. So I do believe that by going through this process, we will end up with better essays, and it will make essay writing easier for you. I think it will help to improve grades as well. But more than anything, it'll give you a plan. It'll give you a routine that you can go through to try to get some of these tough assignments done and, do the best that you can. So I hope that this is good news, doing it this way instead of a timed essay. I do think you'll come to see that it's the better way to approach this. But we're going to be going through all these steps of the writing process. We will do it in practice to learn more about it. But I just kind of wanted to set it up because this is one of the most important things about composition, and probably the number one thing I would want you to take away from this course is sort of this approach to writing an essay. Okay, I think that's all for now. Talk to you soon.